The Dodgers will be meeting with Juan Soto. The Dodgers may be interested in Corbin Burnes. Let's talk about it. Let's get locked on Dodgers.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yo, Dodger fans. Welcome to Locked On Dodgers. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 local sports daily podcast network. Locked On, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. This is the daily podcast covering the World Series champion Los Angeles Dodgers, bringing you the smart fans' perspective on our boys in blue. You can find us wherever you find podcasts and on YouTube. All you got to do, search for Locked On Dodgers. And you can become an everydayer by listening or watching every day, which can be made easier by subscribing, and you'll get notified when episodes are ready or when we're going live on YouTube like we are here on Monday night. If this is your first time listening or watching, welcome. My name is Vince Samperio. That's Jeff Snyder, and we have been doing this podcast for 6+ seasons now. We've been doing a Dodger podcast for even longer than that. We've both covered the team in the press box, in the locker room, and in a few other different ways, writing about the team, talking about the team, all that type of stuff. And, we've been Dodger fans our whole life. So I think that really is the biggest piece of all this, is that we are fans bringing you content for other fans. And, we can all fam together, as we've seen on this here podcast, in the chat, in the comments, in real person interaction. So we're here to continue to talk Dodgers. And we're here to talk a little bit Dodgers. I wouldn't say hard news, or maybe one bit of hard news, one bit of rumors. But either way, we talked about Juan Soto a few times this offseason, and it seemed like the Dodgers' interest was more of a formality. For whatever it's worth, that formality is turning into an actual meeting with Juan Soto, and the Dodgers will be doing that this week, if not Tuesday, Jeff. So, let's talk about Juan Soto.
Yeah, absolutely. It's they were always going to meet with him. It's in his best interest, and it's in their best interest for them to be involved in his free agency. Even if they have no intention of signing him, whoever signs him, it's better for the Dodgers if they spend more money on him, because then that's less money they have to spend on other people. And I do think the Dodgers' interest is at least somewhat legitimate. I think the Dodgers would like to have Juan Soto on their team, because despite his defensive shortcomings, one thing we learned in 2024 is that you can survive with a poor fielding left fielder. You can even thrive. The Dodgers are World Series champions. You and I are World Series champions, Vince, despite them having a bad defensive left fielder. Richard in the comments keeps mentioning he'd rather have Teo back. And for me, it's not an either or. There is no reason in the world the Dodgers couldn't have both Teoscar Hernandez and Juan Soto in the outfield. Like we've talked about before, Teoscar Hernandez has been a good defensive right fielder in his career. He's been bad defensively in left field. So put Teo in right, and you replace the mediocre defense from Teoscar with mediocre defense from Soto in left field. And I honestly believe that with the Dodgers were the third best defensive team in baseball this year by defensive runs saved, and most of that was because of positioning. I think Juan Soto would be a better defensive outfielder with the Dodgers than he has been at other times in his career, because the Dodgers are really good at positioning, and he's an excellent athlete. There's no reason he should be terrible defensively. And so I think the Dodgers can make him a little bit better. He's not going to win a Gold Glove, probably won't even get another bogus nomination, top 3 finish for a Gold Glove like he did this year, but I think he could be solid, and his bat would more than make up for it. So really it comes down to the money side of things.
Yeah, and the thing for me, and a lot of the pushback on Soto, beyond the defense or whatever else people have issues with, is the money. The money is not an issue for the Dodgers, and if the Dodgers do sign Juan Soto, realistically, it's going to be for a deal that's 40 to 50 million AAV, since we would all but assume that anyone with Boris as their agent is not going to take any deferred money. if the Dodgers sign Juan Soto and it isn't, 35, 40, 45, 50 mil AAV, that blows them past some point. I don't know if it blows them past all the thresholds for luxury tax yet, but it would be pretty close considering they still have to fill out the team with some other guys. And it wouldn't matter. Like at that point, it's just money. And, it's not our money, as we've said, but there's no, once you get past, the Cohen tax, everything that's going to happen to you has already happened other than you get taxed on whatever money you had left. So if the Dodgers want to sign Juan Soto and Corbin Burnes, who we're going to talk about next, and Teoscar Hernandez and, whoever else, it's going to cost them money and whatever they were probably already going to lose if they go over that number anyways.
Yeah, and I think I do think the money is one of the things. I think the defense and the money are the two things that fans are concerned about. I assume everybody agrees Juan Soto would make the Dodgers lineup significantly better. Even if he was a replacement for Teoscar Hernandez, Juan Soto is a much better hitter than Teoscar Hernandez, much younger, so likely to stay good longer, all those things. He's definitely an offensive upgrade. And people worry about the defense and they worry about the money. And for me, the money, like I see a lot of things of people saying, well, I'd rather have them spend that money on this and this and this. And yeah, if it's an either or thing, I probably agree. Where I'm not totally in agreement is I don't really believe that it's an either or thing because I think that the Dodgers, like you said, can afford to do whatever they want. And if they, it all depends on what they're, if they want to do that. It's not can they afford to, it's do they want to, and there's reasons not to, but Soto is probably going to have opt-outs in his contract. And if the Dodgers did a big contract that was front loaded with an opt-out after 3 or 4 years, that's a win-win for both sides because Soto gets a bunch of money in the first 4 years and then hits free agency again at age 29 or 30 or whatever it is, if he wants to. And the Dodgers then aren't on the hook during his down defensive years when he's not going to get, I do think he could get better defensively in the next year or two with the right team. Long term, he's only going to get worse. He's going to get less athletic as he ages, like we all do. But the Dodgers will have an opening at first base in a few years. The Dodgers, if Shohei Ohtani stops pitching after a few years and becomes an outfielder, then suddenly DH is available as a possibility. There's a lot of possibilities long term. And I think right now, as we're living the high of being World Series champions, I think fans can understand this is fun. Winning the World Series is fun. And if you sign Juan Soto for 10 years and you win 4 more World Series in those 10 years, I think a lot of fans I think if you ask them right now, they would take that trade of Soto being not worth the money later in the contract. Obviously, 8 years from now, if he was an albatross, then people would be complaining about it. But right now, I think with more of a clear mind, yeah, you'd trade that for 4 World Series in the next 10 years. The problem is you can't guarantee a World Series. The Dodgers have gotten the best player available a lot of times and not won the World Series. And so Juan Soto wouldn't guarantee a World Series, but the Dodgers just won a World Series based a lot on their really good offense, and Juan Soto making that really good offense even better would definitely be a fun thing to watch.
Yeah, and that's really, that's the situation I brought up before where, Freddie Freeman might not play past this contract when it ends. If he does, it might not be for the Dodgers because, it might not be worthy to them or whatever the case is. And, Soto, there's, I see a comment here about Jock Payne all over again. Jock Peterson is one of the only guys that we've seen that hasn't been able to make a move to first base. Everyone else that we've seen that's legitimately tried to play first base has played first base decent enough. And Jock Peterson's an outlier. It's not something that's going to happen, I think, with Soto.
Yeah, and if you put Juan Soto next to Jock Peterson, it would look like putting Juan Soto next to me, like athletic-wise. Jock Peterson is a very good hitter, not a good athlete. Juan Soto is a very good hitter and a good athlete. He probably wouldn't win a Gold Glove at first base either, but like you said, nobody's ever been as bad as Jock Peterson at that.
Yeah, that's the outlier. And again, it's not a matter of if the Dodgers sign Juan Soto and people get upset, that's just those people have an issue with Juan Soto. Like it's, and if it does prevent them from doing other things this offseason, at the very least, you have Juan Soto on your team with a team that already won the World Series and only lost a couple people and is getting people back. So there's really, I don't see an issue where it causes anything beyond you might have some bad defense here and there. And if the bad defense here and there is offset by somebody that hits as well as Juan Soto does, especially last year, maybe aided by Yankee Stadium. I haven't looked deeper into the numbers yet. So I know the 41 homers was a little bit more than he's had in the past, but I don't think it was completely aided by Yankee Stadium. I just think he's, excelling as a hitter. And, then you start thinking about, once you start thinking about Juan Soto, you think about, oh man, where does he hit in this lineup? And then you get excited all over again.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, like I said, Juan Soto, they're going to meet with him. That's due diligence. Realistically, there are going to be other teams that outbid the Dodgers. The Dodgers will be in it if, those teams don't, unless the Dodgers just go into full we don't care mode and just say, you know what, Juan Soto, here's another $650 million. But we'll see what happens. Another guy they might spend on is Corbin Burnes. We're going to talk about him next, so make sure to keep it locked on Dodgers. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is the app you need because you want to do things. Baseball season's over, and you still want to check out some live events, whether it's sports, whether it's concerts, whether it's shows, theater, whatever it is. Game Time can help you out. And especially in LA, where you have 2 NBA basketball teams currently playing, you might want to check those out. And if you can, last year, my girlfriend took me to the Laker game for my birthday, and we sat very close to the court, and they played against the Spurs. And I got to see Wemby up close, and that was really cool. And Game Time was there to help us, to help her surprise me on my birthday. So make sure to go check out the Game Time app. Check out the Game Time picks, which helps you find deals that you want to talk about with your friends. And you can check out all the other things that comes in the Game Time app, Game Time picks, all in pricing, views from your seat, the lowest price guarantee, and Game Time ticket coverage. It's all there in one easy-to-use app. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time picks. Download the Game Time app today. Create an account and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. I want to thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day, your last listen of the day, any point of the day. If you listen to Locked On Dodgers, we appreciate you. I know we go live here sometimes, so it might be your last listen before you go to bed. I know it might be your first listen if you listen to the podcast version or you watch it on YouTube in the morning. Whatever it is, we appreciate you. Remember, you can take out Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Sports Los Angeles. Those are 2 24/7 streaming channels on YouTube, brought to you from the Locked On Podcast Network, bringing you the biggest news and stories from the sports world and the LA sports world. All right, Jeff, let's talk about Corbin Burnes now. John Morosi had the Dodgers listed as one of 2 teams as potential favorites to land Corbin Burnes. Some of the estimations for a contract, a 6-7 year, $200 million range, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, depending on the market. Is Corbin Burnes someone the Dodgers should be in on?
Yeah, I mean, the Dodgers need starting pitching, and a pitcher like Burnes the Dodgers haven't had anybody even qualify for the ERA title the last couple of years. Burnes has at least done that 2 years or 4 years in a row. Almost 5 years in a row. He missed it by a third of an inning in the pandemic season. He's a workhorse, and he's also really good. There are some little concerns. His 2024 season was definitely a step backwards. His ERA was better, but his FIP was, I guess 2023 and 2024 both were steps back from where he had been. But he's still very good. He's gotten Cy Young votes every year since he became a good pitcher in 2020. And he still doesn't give up many home runs, doesn't walk many guys. The strikeout rate is down, and that's part of the big concern. And the hit rate is up a little bit. And he's 30 years old. And so that's where the concern comes in, is that are you paying for the past when you're signing the future? And that's why the Dodgers often aren't in on these big name free agent pitchers. I'm interested because I've heard people say that Burnes has said he wants to pitch for the Dodgers. I haven't seen that from an official source, but that I haven't also looked for it. So I know he's from Bakersfield, so there's a decent chance he grew up a Dodger fan. I don't know that for
He
sure.
had a tweet around when the Dodgers won or something.
Okay,
maybe people are making that into
maybe
wanting to be on the Dodgers.
And so if he does want to come to the Dodgers, if it is like they're his favorite team, he saw how much fun it was for Jack Flaherty and Tyler Glasnow, and that's something. But it's hard for me to picture the Dodgers going more than 5 years at most. And Burnes seems like he might get more than that. So, Morosi saying the Dodgers and Orioles are the favorites. I don't know. Morosi has a hit and miss record with his rumors. But in the end, I'm on board for Burnes for sure in the right situation. Pitchers, I'm more concerned about than position players a little bit when we talk about the aging, because, like I said before, if I'll take a guy who is either good or hurt over a guy who's either good or bad, and Burnes is never hurt. And so if he gets bad, then they're stuck with him. If he's hurt, great, put him on the IL, let somebody else pitch. But you often will see guys who just lose it still getting playing time because they're under contract.
Yeah, pitchers are tough because you can look back and some of the big time pitchers. For every Garrett Cole, there's a Carlos Rodon who hasn't necessarily pitched amazingly, and less so in the postseason. For every Clayton Kershaw, there's a Steven Strasburg or Patrick Corbin who have different issues, but Strasburg couldn't stay healthy. Corbin just wasn't good anymore. So, there's a lot of different things that go into it. Again, when it comes to money, here's what I'll say, like the difference between me for Soto and Burnes when it comes to money is that I think Soto will provide value every year. If you sign him for 10 years or even 15 years at the very least, like he'd have a decent on-base percentage if he got later in his career. Whereas Corbin Burnes, like you're not sure. You're sure that of what he's given to this point so far, but you're not really sure of the future. And you can only be so sure with pitchers. And if you sign a pitcher to a 7-year deal and he blows his arm halfway through the first year, well, now it's really like you're missing him 2 years because you don't get him for the postseason the first year. And even if he does come back the next year, he might not be fully right until the year after that. So that's where it's kind of tough, especially if you get into a $200 million range where it's not, again, it wouldn't deter the Dodgers from doing anything. It wouldn't stop the Dodgers from being good, but it is a little bit more weary, and maybe why the Friedman, Glasnow is the biggest contract I think they've given to any starting pitcher since he's kind of taken over.
Yeah, and if you look at the different starting pitchers who are available, if you compare him to Max Fried and Blake Snell, like Blake Snell specifically, I think is the one I would want the most because he is the one who fits that either really good or hurt kind of mold, and probably won't demand as long a contract because of the age and the history and everything. And so I think Blake Snell maybe makes the Dodgers a little bit better over the next few years than Corbin Burnes does. But also I keep coming back to the innings eater, and you're not going to sign a guy just to be an innings eater. And Burnes isn't just an innings eater. He is a great pitcher who also eats innings. And that's something that this Dodgers team hasn't had since Clayton Kershaw was healthy, to really go out and eat innings and pitch really well and actually, contend for a Cy Young Award. Dodgers pitchers hardly ever contend for Cy Young Awards because they don't pitch enough innings. And some of that is by design. And that, we've talked about the 6-man rotation that the Dodgers are likely to do next year. Does that maybe deter Burnes from wanting to come to the Dodgers because he won't get as many innings? Or does it make him think, well, maybe that's nice because I am getting a little bit older. I'm in my 30s now. And so maybe that would be a great way to transition into this next stage of my career. There's a lot of questions there. I will definitely be a lot more happy than sad if the Dodgers sign Corbin Burnes because I do think he makes them quite a bit better.
Yeah, because at that point, once the Dodgers sign him, then we're all in on him. Like we're gonna assume he doesn't get hurt. We're gonna assume he pitches great, and we're gonna love the fact that he's on the Dodgers. It's all about the going into it. The pros and cons. But once he's signed, like there's no reason to talk about pros and cons because the cons are gonna happen. If they're gonna happen, they're gonna happen. So it's not gonna stop the Dodgers from already doing what they've done if they were to sign him. But yeah, I think I thought about the 6-man rotation and kind of does the winning, like does being on the Dodgers and having a chance to win every year outweigh that? And I think it has to. Like, I don't think there's any pitcher anymore that's like, oh, I'm not going to sign with a team because I'm not going to pitch every 5th day. Like,
yeah, it would be interesting if the Dodgers signed Burnes and he bumped his old college teammate out of the rotation and the Dodgers traded Tony Gonsolin to make room for him. They were college teammates and buddies. So, but maybe we'll see both St. Mary's guys in the rotation next year.
Yeah, it's possible. Like I said, for the Dodgers, Corbin Burnes makes sense. It's all going to come down to someone else. Like, pretty much the feeling for me with every free agent is somebody else going to pay them, quote unquote, stupid money. And then the Dodgers won't be in on that because they don't pay, quote unquote, stupid money unless it's stupid smart money like Ohtani, $700 million, but it's deferred and you get the flexibility on the roster. So.
Yeah.
Next part is not specifically Dodgers, but the conversation of pitcher and position player in terms of NL Rookie of the Year, because Paul Skenes won it. Jackson Merrill did not. Was that the right choice? We'll get into it. Make sure you keep it locked on, Dodgers. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Continue to tackle the NFL action this season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. And right now, new customers can bet $5. You get $150 in bonus bets if you win. FanDuel Sportsbook app is there to help you put that $5 bet down, but also give you a chance to check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more, all on the same page or app where you place your bets. It gives you everything you need to place live bets as well. Live bets are fun. If you, sometimes teams go down early and you think, oh, I think that team's still going to win, live bet. Sometimes you think, oh, so-and-so's having a good game. I think they're going to score a touchdown. You might want to put that into the middle of the game. So go check it out. And, if you would have listened to me and put your $5 bet on the Raiders to lose and the Dolphins to win, you would have got 150 in bonus bets because the Raiders lost. So I think you can continue to put money down on the Raiders to lose. And I think you're going to have probably great success getting 150 in those bonus bets if you're a new customer on FanDuel. So go to FanDuel.com, check it all out. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. I want to thank you for being an everyday, or if you are one, an everydayer is just someone that listens or watches every day. A few of you here in the chat, a few new names in the chat that we maybe haven't seen before. So we appreciate everyone. If you're an everydayer, we appreciate you. If you're listening for the first time, you can become an everydayer, and then we'll appreciate you. And if you're just listening today, we still appreciate you, but we'd also appreciate if you listen at least one more time this week and, build your way up to becoming an everydayer. And remember, you can go beyond the podcast, come on Locked On Dodgers Insider at joinsubtext.com/LockedOnDodgers and get text directly sent to your phone with any breaking news, rumors, thoughts, anything that, we think is deemed worthy of Dodger fans knowing, we'll send your way. So make sure to check that out. And Jeff, we had the first of the major awards announced this week. It's going to be all week up until Thursday when the MVP is announced. And in the American League, it was Luis Gil over Colton Cowser for AL Rookie of the Year. And in the NL, it was Paul Skenes versus Jackson Merrill. I don't know enough about Luis Gil or Colton Cowser to know if there was any uproar in the American League, but there was maybe uproar from one specific city in the National League. But, it's a good conversation to have. A dominant starting pitcher that started the season a little late, or a really solid outfielder that provided stability in an outfield that was in flux, and in Jackson Merrill, and also had some clutch hits along the way.
Yeah, for me, it's mostly a bummer that either the Pirates or the Padres aren't in the American League, because both of these guys deserve to be Rookie of the Year. Both of these guys, Skenes and Merrill, would have blown Luis Gil out of the water in the voting. If they were in separate leagues, Skenes and Merrill both would have been unanimous Rookie of the Year winners. The fact is they aren't. And Merrill was awesome. I would love if Jackson Merrill had been drafted by the Dodgers instead of the Padres. He is an excellent player, everything you could want in a ball player, in a center fielder for sure. Paul Skenes had a historic rookie season, and that's what it took to beat Jackson Merrill in the Rookie of the Year voting. But that's what Paul Skenes is. Paul Skenes was probably the best pitcher in baseball from the time he got called up through the end of the season. If the Pirates had brought Paul Skenes up to start the season, he probably would be the Cy Young winner. He is one of the top 3 Cy Young vote getters. He's going to lose. Chris Sale's going to win. Paul Skenes is probably going to finish third behind Sale and Zach Wheeler. But Skenes was the best pitcher in the National League this year, just didn't have the quantity to go with the quality to earn the Cy Young Award. But absolutely, Paul Skenes was the right choice for Rookie of the Year, and which is a bummer for Jackson Merrill.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks that he's on the Padres, but yeah, I love Jackson Merrill, what he did this year. I got to talk to him a couple of times, for my day job, and he was really, cool guy, gave good answers, all that type of stuff. So, but I think, someone texted me when they first announced it and, kind of mentioned it, and I was like, well, Paul Skenes was, like you said, historically good. He was one of the best pitchers in baseball. Jackson Merrill was a very, very, very good outfielder. Depending on where you're at, I don't know if he was historically good, and I don't think he was one of the best outfielders. I think he was, well, I guess it depends how you describe that. But either way, like Paul Skenes was top 3 in his position, and Jackson Merrill ended up being top 6. He was second team All MLB. I guess if you go in the National League, maybe he was top 3. But it is kind of interesting breaking it down, and this is absolutely no knock on Jackson Merrill. He's way better. But when you look at Jackson Merrill 2024 and you look at James Outman 2023, they're far apart, but not that far apart to where you're like, man, Outman had a pretty decent year last year and then just completely lost it this year. I don't think that's going to happen to Merrill. But for me, it was Skenes all the way. And yeah, it's kind of like Jose Fernandez and Yasiel Puig back when they were 1 and 2 in Rookie of the Year, where Puig had a phenomenal rookie year, did get called up a little bit later, but Jose Fernandez was an elite pitcher, not an elite rookie. He was an elite pitcher.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, if Paul Skenes, like I saw a thing, this is the first time that 2 rookies have won, or 2 pitchers have won the Rookie of the Year in the same season since 2011 or whenever it was, when it was Craig Kimbrell and Jeremy Hellickson. If Paul Skenes was Jeremy Hellickson, he would not have won this. The fact is, this was not just a good rookie season. This was an elite pitching season that obviously isn't a full season. He didn't even qualify for the ERA title, but he did start the All-Star game. He deserved to. He had been in the league, a month when the All-Star game happened, and he deserved to make the team and be the starter. And Paul Skenes, I still think his elbow is going to blow up at some point, and that will definitely slow down his career. But if he could stay healthy or overcome the first Tommy John surgery and stay healthy after that, he is going to be one of the best pitchers of our generation. And that's, Pin Sanity in the chat had the comparison between, the Ohtani Lindor MVP conversation, that Lindor had a good season and people credit him a lot for the Mets' success and all that. Ohtani had a historic season, which is why Ohtani is going to be the unanimous MVP winner. And, Jackson Merrill, all the same arguments you can make for Lindor for MVP, you can make for Jackson Merrill for Rookie of the Year. But when it comes down to it, Paul Skenes was better. And that's what this is voting on. Who was the better rookie? And Paul Skenes, sadly for Jackson Merrill and his family, and I guess sad for the Padre fans, although, who cares? Paul Skenes was better than Jackson Merrill. And, next year they won't be going up against each other. Skenes will be going for the Cy Young Award. Jackson Merrill will be going for the MVP. And, we'll see what happens then. But I wish both of them were on the Dodgers. That's my short answer.
Yeah, definitely wish they were both on the Dodgers. I guess Skenes, it feels like Ohtani is going to be MVP every year at this point, but I guess Skenes could find his way getting some MVP votes. So they could battle it out next year in that sense. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those where Dodgers haven't had, I don't know, even with Outman, like I said, when you look at the stats side by side, they're not that far off. F4, Merrill was 5.3, Outman was 4.0. In WRC plus, I think it was like 130 to 118. Similar homers, like it wasn't that far off. So it's just like, man, why did Outman fall off? And not for Jackson Merrill's sake, but for the Dodgers' sake, Jackson Merrill did fall off next year. It would greatly help the Dodgers not have to worry about the division, really. So.
Yeah, I think part of the reason Outman fell off is if you look at the strikeout rates last year, even when Outman was good, 31.9%, and Jackson Merrill this year, 17.0. Like that, strikeouts are a big indicator of, is this guy going to be able to make adjustments? And that's the thing that Jackson Merrill has, because he puts the bat on the ball. He's going to make adjustments. He's going to, I am much more optimistic about Jackson Merrill's long-term outlook than I was about James Outman's, even when I was high on James Outman.
Yeah. So, all right, Jeff, I think it's manager of the year. You talked about that on a solo episode, Dave Roberts, and he wasn't a finalist, so we won't have to worry about anything until Thursday for MVP and Ohtani, which appears to be just a formality more than anything else.
Yeah, I am interested to see where Dave Roberts finishes in the manager of the year voting. I'm sure he got some votes and probably even some first place votes, but it'll be interesting to see for sure.
Yeah. All right. You got anything else to add?
I think that's it for me for today.
All right. That'll do it for today's episode. Thank you all for listening. We're trying to get a World Series champion on this week. So hopefully we get that done before the end of this week. But if not,
besides us, we're World Series champions too.
Yeah, World Series champion player. We're World Series champions, but a World Series champion player. So hopefully that happens later this week. If not, there'll be awards and rumors and everything else that comes with the offseason. So we'll talk about all that. So make sure to keep it Locked On Dodgers all week. That's going to do it for today's episode. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day. Make sure to check us out wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe to get notified when our episodes are ready or when we're going live on YouTube. Make sure to check out Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Sports Los Angeles, 24/7 streaming channels from the Locked On Podcast Network on YouTube. Check out or go to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnDodgers to get text directly from us with any news, thoughts, rumors, everything else that concerns the Dodgers. You can also find us on social media, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Locked On Dodgers. Jeff's on Twitter at Snydog. I'm at Vincent91. You can DM us any questions or comments. You can also send those via email, lockedondodgers@gmail.com, or via voicemail text at 323-863-5625. We're here every weekday morning, and we hope you'll be here with us. When you get in your car, if you're at home, text my device, play podcast, Locked On Dodgers. And remember, you don't have to agree. You just have to listen. Have a good one.
We'll talk to you tomorrow.